Is Sony's new monitor any good for Star Citizen? The Inzone M9, 4K, 144Hz, HDR to a certain extent. Is it good for the game? And other questions like, is 4K actually worth getting on a 27-inch screen? Does HDR actually look any good? And does HDR in Star Citizen even do anything? So they're the questions we're looking at today. Let's get into it. Overall, what do I think about this monitor? Well, so far, I love it. It's significantly better than my old monitor. That's the thing to say. The colours, the blacks, everything about it, it's a significant step up. And the old monitor wasn't particularly fancy. I mean, it wasn't cheap. It had G-Sync and it's about 5 years old, so it wasn't cheap then. But in terms of the actual picture quality and the colour replication, all that sort of stuff, this new monitor completely blows it away. Even in SDR with just normal content, it's just a significantly better monitor. And that might be the first takeaway for people. Even if you're not looking to get a really, really expensive monitor like this, just getting a better one that's not £1,000, but that's more like maybe 300, 400, 500, there you could upgrade your situation quite significantly. Playing Star Citizen on my old monitor, it was just all completely washed out. I didn't really realise it was so bad, but it was really washed out. Blacks were nowhere near black. Everything had this kind of grey look to it, and actually, for some reason, this sounds ridiculous, but it's just more enjoyable playing the game when it looks better. I hadn't realised how much my old monitor was affecting my experience, really. So that's one thing. Colours, everything. Blacks are darker, even without getting onto the HDR stuff. Let's talk about HDR then. HDR itself, even on this monitor, so this monitor isn't a perfect implementation of HDR. It's full array local dimming, but it's only got 96 zones, so it can't do every single pixel. It can't basically light up individual pixels like an OLED or maybe some of these other monitors out there. But it still can get pretty bright, and it can get dark depending on the scene. There's a bit of kind of blooming where the scene kind of, the white, if there's a star in the middle of a shot, around that will be a bit of blooming, kind of this white light that kind of bleeds. But it's significantly better again from the old monitor, and it's not a bad implementation of HDR because it will go pretty bright. So when you're running all the HDR kind of demo stuff on it, it looks stunning. Like, it really looks good. If you've got some really good footage, it looks great. Star Citizen itself doesn't have HDR implemented natively, but you can obviously turn it on with Auto-HDR in Windows. And this basically kind of maps the SDR content and it kind of works out what it would do HDR. It's not great, it's not perfect, but I would say it does look better than SDR, and so I will be keeping it on. I think HDR actually is more significant than I thought it would be. I thought it'd be, oh, it looks nice, but it really does again make the picture pop and look really, really nice. So I like HDR. This isn't the best HDR monitor, but I'll be keeping it on. It's pretty great. The other thing then is the 4K. So this is a 27-inch monitor, and 27-inch has been kind of touted as the sweet spot for 1440p for a long time. But when you put this next to the 1440p monitor, and I've been using them for not just gaming, for just doing bits and bobs and using them, 4K is significantly better at 27 inches than 1440p. You can tell the difference, and actually now I've got the 4K monitor here and the 1440 monitor there, and I can just see the pixels in the 1440p monitor in the way that you can't. It's so crisp and sharp, the 4K monitor. So one of the questions I had coming into buying this monitor was, is 27 inches going to be big enough? Because I think people have been saying 32 inches might be the sweet spot for 4K, but actually for me this is great, and I'm probably most happy actually with the 4K nature of the screen. It just does look great, and as I've been saying for a long time, Star Citizen is an incredibly good looking game in 4K. It just is really set up really nicely for that, and I just think it looks incredible. But as I've been saying for a while now, Star Citizen on a 3080 at least that I've got can't really run at 4K. We are waiting for the 4080 and the 7800 XT probably. Maybe if you really want to spend all the money, going up to the 4090 and the 7900 XT from AMD. We are not at a point with the current cards that are on the market as I make this video right now that you can really happily run 4K and get 60 FPS. We get in this place where Star Citizen is normally CPU bottlenecked, but when you start to play at 4K, even the highest end graphics cards on the market right now cannot maintain 60 FPS. So that is a caveat when you're looking at buying any monitor, high-end monitor at the moment, is that in order to play Star Citizen, well, you can't really play it at 4K properly right now. And actually, if you turn on the clouds to very high, the highest setting, if you want the highest quality, very high clouds with 4K gets you about 15, 20 FPS. That really, really is a killer. So the game isn't quite obviously optimized in any way, but right now it's worth saying 4K in Star Citizen is a bit of a dream for the future, for 60 FPS at least. If you're happy to drop below that, yeah, fine, but I think most people want to hit 60 FPS as a minimum. Let's get on to the price of this thing to finish this off. It is expensive, very expensive, and for most people this just isn't something you should be looking at. I think this sort of monitor, and not necessarily this monitor itself, because I love this monitor, it's great, but there are other options which I will link to below in my Amazon affiliate thing if you want to go and buy things and give me money. But there are other options that are equally as good, if not better, depending on what you want to do. There's the Alienware thing, there's some Samsung monitors that are great as well. They've got curves and they've got ultra wide, there's all sorts of things out there that might be better suited. But this sort of high-end monitor, I think, is really for somebody who hasn't got a really good monitor, but they've already spent thousands of pounds or hundreds of pounds on the game, on the spaceships. And what I would suggest to you is, the next time a new spaceship comes out, rather than spending £700 on a spaceship, you might be better off getting a really high-end monitor, because I think the experience just is significantly better when you've got really nice colours. The HDR is great as well, and 4K. I think you'll enjoy playing the game more than you would buying another spaceship, if that makes any sense. I think for a while I've been saying there's no point in having a great CPU, GPU, and then playing on a not great monitor. You've really got to look at the whole pipeline of what goes into your eyes, and the monitor is a significant part of that. And so I think if you've sunk tons of money into the game already, you are doing yourself a bit of a disservice if you don't play this game on a really decent monitor. That's just my opinion. And again, if you've got yourself an Aurora, you've not got much disposable income, forget about 4K, forget about HDR for now. The prices will come down, and in 5 years' time, these sorts of monitors I think will be much more affordable and much more kind of commonplace. So yeah, please never here's a piece of life advice from me: never put your financial situation in danger to play Star Citizen. You should only be buying these spaceships or buying these computer parts if you've got plenty of disposable income. Don't bankrupt yourself to get that new spaceship. If you really want the best, I think the best monitor advice out there, I think it's Hardware Unboxed, the Australian YouTube channel. They've also now got a Monitors Unboxed spin-off channel, which is just looking at monitors. As far as I can find, they are the best guys. They do good testings. The website Artings, which I guess is something to do with ratings, artings.com I guess it is also very good for written stuff. Do your research, that's what I would say. Do your research. Don't just buy a monitor without knowing everything about it, because there's plenty of information out. Those two sources are really good, Hardware Unboxed and Artings. Anyway, there's a load of thoughts. I think this monitor is great, the Sony Inzone M9. I love it. If you like this more technical look at Star Citizen in general, subscribe, like this video, and I will see you again soon.